Hello, boys and girls. I hope you're doing great. Hope you're having a nice week this week and things are going well. Let's just jump right into our lesson. We're going to be in Acts chapter 17 today. As you know, if you have watched any of these videos, we're going in order in the Bible, in order after Jesus was crucified and rose from the grave. And so we're all the way into Acts chapter 17. Last week, we've been talking, for the last several weeks, we've been talking about Paul and how he has gone out and he's a missionary. He's starting churches. He's going everywhere he can and teaching the gospel and telling people the good news about Jesus and saving people. And we've read for several weeks now, just about everywhere they go, after a time, sometimes it seems like a couple days, and sometimes it's longer than that. There's opposition. There's people who come against what Paul is saying, and they represent Satan and the devil. Satan rules this world. But he doesn't rule us because we belong to Jesus. And so these people who don't belong to Jesus, they don't want to give up on their stuff in their life that they, different things. They don't want to change stuff that they're doing. And so they typically try to stop Paul because he's telling them they are evil because they won't change. Last week, he picked up a new friend. He had been traveling with a guy named Barnabas. He and Barnabas had a disagreement and decided to just separate. So he picked up a new friend named Silas, and then they picked up another friend named Timothy. And so they're traveling together. Last week's story, we learned about how Paul and Silas were sent to prison for preaching. They hadn't done anything wrong, and just like we talked about, some people didn't like what they were saying, and so had them put in jail. We talked about their miraculous escape from jail. What the Lord caused an earthquake, and they, through all this, they saved the jailer and his family, and it was a really neat story. So, chapter 17 is similar to what we've been reading. Paul goes to 3 different cities or towns or areas. The first one being Thessalonica. I know it's a big name. The second one being Berea. And the third one being Athens. Athens is in Greece. It's a very popular place even still today. So, when Paul and Silas and Timothy were traveling, they came to Thessalonica, and like we've talked about before, they went to the synagogue first, which was like the Jewish church, and they started teaching there. It tells us that some people believed, and they were invited back, and this went on, it says that they did that in Thessalonica for 3 Sabbath days, so 3 weeks. They were there teaching and talking. Again, some people believed, some people were listening, some people were hearing. And then again, like everywhere Paul goes, there are people who decide they don't like what he's saying. It says, in fact, the Jews are jealous because people are listening to him instead of them. And so they get a crowd stirred up and they go to a man's house. I'm guessing it's where Paul was staying. And they look for Paul there and they can't find him. So they drag the man out into the street and question them and threaten them. Again, they couldn't find Paul and Silas. It says they basically made them pay a fine, even though they hadn't done anything wrong. and then let him go. This is the man that Paul had been staying with. So the next day, because it's no longer safe for Paul or the people he's staying with, he leaves and he goes to a town called Berea. Apparently, it's not that far from Thessalonica. So they left and went to the Berea. He goes to the Jewish synagogue. He's preaching and teaching. The Bible tells us that the Bereans, the people from Berea, were more open than the people in Thessalonica, and they received the message with great eagerness and examined the scriptures. So they're excited about what Paul's telling them, and they're eager to learn more every day. But then it tells us, it does say that many people, many Jewish people, many Greek people, men and women, are all believing and turning. It's a good thing. Then the Jews from Thessalonica, the first town, hear that they're in Berea, and they go and stir the crowd up in Berea. It's the same people. This is not the first time that we've heard this either, where people pursue Paul to try to get him to stop or to cause him trouble, which is crazy, because that's what Paul was doing when we first heard about him. He was named Saul, and he was trying to stop the Christian movement himself, and he pursued after Christians, trying to make them stop teaching. And so the very thing that he was is now a thing that's afflicting him. So from Berea, these people came and they're stirring them up, and it's not going good. You know, there's a lot of people who are eager to learn, and so Paul leaves Silas and Timothy in Berea so they can keep doing the work, and he goes on to Athens. Now, Athens, you have to get on a boat to go to, and so this is a long distance. It's not just down the road where somebody can come harass him some more. And so while he's in Athens, Athens is a big city, very popular, and while he's there, it says that he's distressed while he's waiting on Timothy and Silas. He's distressed. That means he's worried, or he's anxious, or he's bothered. And what he's so distressed about is that everywhere, all around the city of Athens, there are idols. There are false gods. There are basically statues or monuments that people are worshiping like gods. Now, I know that here in our world we have statues of different people, world war heroes, or Martin Luther King statues, or whatever. I mean, we have statues, so that's a thing that's still around today. We have monuments, again, like veterans, war monuments, to remember different things that have happened. Those are what monuments are. The difference is we don't worship these monuments like gods. We don't think that they have some power. We don't think that they give us anything. We don't think that they're anything more than a memory. And so, but in Athens, Paul is seeing all these gods, all this false worship. And the people in Athens are known to be extremely smart, very intellectual, like maybe professors, like just the kind of people that would use big words and, not talk where normal people could have a conversation with them. If you know somebody like that, I don't mean any offense. That's just the only way I could describe it. So anyway, Paul goes and he's teaching. He's there, and these well-to-do people are like, "What is this? What is this babbler talking about?" That's what it says right here in the Bible. It doesn't say it with an accent or with a funny voice, but obviously they're looking down on him and making fun of him because they're supreme to him. But they're like, what is he talking about? He's talking about foreign gods, and I don't know, it's crazy. But then he starts talking, and they start listening. These philosophers, that's what they're called. These really, really smart people, the ones who have all the answers for everything. They start listening. And Paul is an educated man. He's very smart. And he's smart enough to talk to them in a way that they understand. And he gets their attention, and they start listening. And one of the things he says, when they say that, what are you babbling about, or what are you talking about, foreign gods? He said, look, I looked around. This is Paul. He said, I looked around your city, and I saw statues and gods for everything. Now, I even found one that was titled To the Unknown God. He said, so I can see that you're very religious. It's not that. But this statue to the unknown God, I am telling you, I know who the unknown God is. And then he uses that, one of their statues, and he links it to Jesus, and he tells them all about Jesus. and all that comes with this. And they, again, a lot of them like what they hear, and they want to hear more of it, and so they invite Paul back. And many are converted, and many are saved, and Paul is reaching people even there in a place where most people probably would be afraid to go because of the reputation that it had. But here Paul is, and he's converting people just the same as he has everywhere else. So that's the end of chapter 17. That's a summary of it. Paul faces trials and opposition in every town he goes to. And everywhere he goes, he's converting some people. There are people who are turning to Christ. But there's opposition too. And Paul doesn't give up. Now, it does tell us later on that he gets tired and he wants to. That's the human side of him. But he knows that he has a purpose, and his purpose is for the Lord. And he's going to keep doing the work of the Lord no matter what. And so Paul is taking the word everywhere he can, and he's doing the best that he can and converting many, many people. Because of the work Paul is doing, he's starting churches all over the place. These people are hearing about Jesus for the first time ever. And he's saving them. But also, because of the work he's doing, we're still talking about him today. And that was 2,000 years ago. I mean, how big of an impact did Paul have? Has he had? Will he have? Because we're going to be talking about Paul forever. And that's the thing. Like, sometimes there's stuff in our world that makes us want to quit. Stuff's not easy, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you it is. But we tend to think in the short term. And what I mean by that is, like, right now. What's going to make something easier right now? I'll worry about later at a different time. And the problem is, if Paul thought that way, he would have quit. When it got hard, he would have just said, okay, I'll go talk to people who like me. I'm not going to talk to people who want to kill me. I'm going to quit traveling around. I'll just stay here in one place and do that. If Paul had quit, we wouldn't have gotten all that we have. Let you in on a little secret. Paul's out on missionary journeys right now in our studies, but he ends up getting arrested and writes most of the New Testament from jail. So he never quits. And if he hadn't kept going and doing, we wouldn't have the Bible like we have it today. So my encouragement to you is don't give up. I know some of you probably are young children. We got to learn perseverance. We got to learn to keep going when things are tough. If we give up every time something gets hard, or every time something gets difficult, or every time there's something we don't like, we'll never learn how to deal with anything, or face anything, or overcome anything. So perseverance is a big thing. Paul has great perseverance in what he's doing. We need to learn to have perseverance too, because it's important. What we do is important, and what we do for the Lord is important. I hope you guys have a great week, and let us know if you need anything, and we'll see you on the next video.